What's the good word, y'all? DKB here. So we've been having fast and furious updates come in regards to the big three quarterbacks that the New York Jets were tabbed and linked to some degree. Now, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garappolo are going to be those big three quarterbacks, but the market's been developing a lot quicker than I think a lot of us expected. And I think there's a serious opportunity, depending on which way we're leaning, that we can actually miss out on all three. So if we want to start off with Aaron Rodgers, the big news with him is obvious that he's supposedly quarterback one. I just talked about reports saying Joe Douglas was all in on bringing him to the New York Jets. Maybe that's part of the pressure of feeling like he's heading into the final year potentially with the New York Jets if he can't achieve a playoff run. And maybe that's just capitalizing on what is a playoff-ready roster and not really wanting to waste any time with, a second-tier option if you want to consider Derek Carr that. So with Aaron Rodgers, things have changed recently. He's become the betting odds favorite for the Raiders to actually acquire them via trade. And there is a lot of, to be honest, the only situation that probably would have been a better fit for him than the New York Jets would be the Raiders when you take a look at the fact that he has an OC over there in Josh McDaniels, who a lot of people have been reporting he wanted to be hired over LaFleur, and obviously he's had a lot of success with him. But this was one of those moves that originally started the whole drama with Aaron Rodgers potentially wanting to leave Green Bay, in that he felt the franchise never really considered his offensive coordinator preference a viable option for him. So yes, Josh McDaniels now sitting over there. Obviously, he has Davante Adams, and he's been tweeting up a storm about, Aaron Rodgers finding housing in the Las Vegas area. And then it's just a lot of side things to love. Las Vegas is obviously packed with a lot of things between the Strip, the downtown, all of the events that get hosted, like the Pro Bowl, the 2021 draft, I want to say, that was just out here. And so it's definitely a lot to love. Tax breaks, the whole nine. So you can definitely see Aaron Rodgers going out there and trying to make things work one last time with this best buddy in Davante Adams. And then, of course, in a head coach now in McDaniels, who he's wanted to be teamed up with all along. Then we take a look at Derek Carr. He seems like, in my opinion, the best fit, the most logical option, and I wouldn't even say a step back from Aaron Rodgers necessarily, but there's also been a lot of things developing in the market for him. So there's a lot of things that would obviously be beneficial for us. I don't feel like the talent gap is as wide as a lot of people make it seem. Blasphemy or not, I think Aaron Rodgers at some point is definitely going to feel that, that age 40 plus cliff in performance. But as far as Derek Carr goes, he's not a slouch by any means. He's been put in very terrible situations, and he's made it work for himself. Granted, he doesn't have a winning quarterback record, but again, on average, we're talking about a 32nd ranked defense that he's been paired with. He's had to look over his shoulders almost since his sophomore, junior year of leading the Raiders. So it's not a lot of things mentally that has kept him in a manageable situation, I want to say. Either way, short and long term for us, definitely a great prospect. In the short term, immediately, we still are playoff contenders, definitely at least AFC championship level. And then long term, let's say he does show out, ball out, we get to the championship game, we get a Super Bowl, whatever the case is. He's young enough to where we can still extend him to a second contract to take him to the age of a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers. And, for the foreseeable future, we're talking about the next 7 to 10 years potentially. We're living golden with a guy that's been established and can keep things going. He's obviously durable, which would be a huge concern for us. But as I mentioned, his market is developing. So the Saints and the Titans have actually been named recently as teams that are looking more heavily involved with him. And the Saints even are looking like they're trying to come up with a potential trade package. Not really willing to risk a bidding war that's going on. So that's another issue that we have to try to figure out. Aaron Rodgers, there's been reports that we might have to wait until the summer when he finally decides if he wants to play or not. Obviously, nothing's happening till June 1st with him. And so if we want to go all in, we have to absolutely blow them away. With Derek Carr, we can make a move now. It's just a matter of if we want to sacrifice draft resources, or if we want to get him part of that bidding war and just hope that we have the best sales pitch for him. And then we get into Jimmy Garappolo, a quarterback that obviously seems like he's taken a back seat to Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr. He kind of has always felt like a final fallback option in a way for me. But essentially, if you pair him with a strong run game, if you match him with an above average and elite defense, you get what you get what Belichick was able to, ultimately sell him on the first time, and what Shanahan has been able to prove during his tenure with the 49ers with them. And those are definitely two things that we have in place. But we also have the fact that the 49ers have mentioned there's not a scenario where they see him returning. So he's definitely hitting the market, bearing maybe some extremely terrible news with either Brock Purdy or Trey Lance in terms of their recovery from their injuries. But his market is also developing as well. So there's two teams that would be strong fits for him as well based on what he's done and what they can actually offer for him. The Texans with DeMeco Ryans, he's just coming from the 49ers. The Texans aren't really, comfortable at all with the quarterback situation that they have over there. And so he can look to be essentially that place starter there for maybe 2-3 years while DeMeco Ryans tries to build up the talent level around his team. And it's probably going to happen quicker on the defensive side than the offensive side. So, throw a couple darts with the weapons that they could potentially surround him with. Otherwise, he knows there's a strong defense at the worst that he'll be able to get fitted with over there. And then we take a look at the Falcons, a sneaky team actually. Obviously, they have the young guy Ritter from Cincinnati that was able to take over the position ultimately from Marcus Mariota, but you probably still aren't 100% sold on him if you're a Falcons fan. So Arthur Smith, run-oriented offense, lots of play action. When you want to talk about taking immense amounts of pressure off of what Jimmy Garappolo would be asked to do and putting him in preferential situations, he probably won't find a better spot than the Atlanta Falcons. And, for context, we're talking about a team that led the league with 559 rushing attempts. So there's not a chance that he's going to be asked to, go out there and throw 35 plus times consistently throughout the season. So where does that leave us? Let's say Aaron Rodgers does ultimately get moved to the Raiders. Let's say we miss out on the Derek Carr sweepstakes because the Saints want to swoop in and offer a trade, and Jimmy Garappolo does decide that he wants to either move with DeMeco Ryans, who he's had a little bit more extended exposure with as compared to Robert Saleh, and then of course we don't have LaFleur over here anymore, or he ends up going with Arthur Smith and that run-oriented team over there, even though they're rebuilding. The extreme backup options don't look great. Ryan Tannehill will probably be the best, arguably, of the next group that I'm getting ready to mention here. But Ryan Tannehill will probably be next, assuming he actually makes it to free agency. And then Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, and people can't forget that Baker Mayfield is also floating out there somewhere. Potentially a draft pick as well. I know there are some trade rumors about, what the Bears situation looks like. Number one does seem like it's, out there if the price is right for whoever wants it. So maybe we go and try to find a CJ Stroud or somebody like that and see what we can do. But I don't know. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Which way are you leaning? You guys know with me is Derek Carr all the way, but what do you feel our chances are in that we can actually acquire any one of these three guys instead of having to, take a look at that final list that I just gave you guys. So I'll catch you guys again, and peace out.